Hey, this is Eddie Erdogan, the Armenian assassin, feeling blessed as I'm listening to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast.
There's a rowdy crowd today.
Hey now everybody, welcome to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast here on rowdywrestling.net, iTunes, TuneIn, pretty much anywhere you get your pro wrestling podcast goodness. I'm Sterling Tony T.S. Stabile. That's right, Mark Mercer. I added Sterling in there. Deal with it. Very awesome Friday edition of the podcast. Little bonus for your ear slits as I got the pleasure to sit back and Skype with quite possibly one of the most pleasant human beings in the world, Pacitti Club Worldwide, the GM of What Culture Pro Wrestling, Mr. Adam Pacitti. Very, very nice of him to stay up very, very late to talk to me about their upcoming iPPV, the very first iPPV in WCPW history, Refuse to Lose, headlined by I was going to say headlined by so many matches, but so many fantastic matches on the card for that. You've got the American hero, Kurt Angle versus Joe Hendry, the local hero. You have Cody Rhodes on the card. You have Alberto El Patron. You know, they scooped this guy up the day that his contract ceased to exist with WWE and so many other of your favorite What Culture Pro Wrestling superstars, or we should say wrestlers, on the card there, as well as Adam Blampied. I added the D in there because I have a slight American twang. Also on the show in a street fight. Very, very much looking forward to that. We'll likely be doing an episode on that, reviewing it, as we don't shy away from indie pro wrestling, specifically if it's local. And I'm counting them as local because A, we're in Canada, B, they're British, and C, it's on the interwebs, making it easy and accessible for all of you. The details on how to get that will be in the description of the show. Speaking of descriptions of the show, what I add every week is a little shout out to our sponsors, Heels and Faces, those fantastic guys setting you up with the most fly looking pro wrestling inspired clothing. They threw up a fun little design on Instagram at Heels and Faces with villains and blue eyes. Very nice British pro wrestling take on their usual pro wrestling look and style. So go check it out. Maybe that'll become something you can buy. Maybe you could buy it after watching Refuse to Lose because you love British pro wrestling so much once that gets done. Check it out. You got to do it. But for now, let's head right into my chat with the What Culture Pro Wrestling General Manager, Adam Pacitti.
What's up, everybody? My name is Chris Aros, invading this show to plug my stuff, and that is www.prowrestlingtees.com/Chris Aros, and buy your loved ones the greatest gift of them all, and that's a Chris Aros t-shirt. Do it now.
Without doing a bad WWE introduction, joining me at this time, Adam Pacitti, the General Manager of What Culture Pro Wrestling. How are you, good sir?
Hello, I'm very well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for coming on the show. You're probably, without sounding too Canadian, you're the most exotic person I've had on besides TJ Perkins.
I don't think I've ever been called exotic before, so I really, really like that. Thank you very much.
Hey, I guess I'll throw it that way. How many gray hairs or how much internal aging have you done since starting What Culture Pro Wrestling?
I'm balding now. I'm going to be a big beer-bellied mess by the end of this. No, it's good. It is very, very stressful. There's always lots and lots of work to be done, but the good thing about it, I guess, is none of it really feels like work. You know, I'm working all the time, but I'm working about, you know, in something that I'm so passionate about. It's fun. I'm very lucky.
Are you still doing anything at What Culture besides wrestling now?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, as in, besides WCPW, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. I pop up. I still do the live reactions with Adam and Jack. I still edit list videos, do voiceovers for them. I still produce videos. I do some of the social media. I do some of the marketing. Fingers in all of the what culture pies, I guess. So,
sprawling is what I call it.
it's good, yeah. There's always work to be done, and as I say, it's all quite fun, so I don't mind doing it.
Now, just to continue, because I love finding these evolutions, What Culture Pro Wrestling, was this a sort of thing where somebody asked you to put your money where your mouth was with all these how we can book better or how booking should have been done? Or was this something where you grew up and you watched Jack Tunney and you watched Gorilla Monsoon and went, I want to be that guy. I don't want to be the wrestler. I want to be him.
Well, I wanted to wrestle as well, but everybody on the team at WCPW, we're all just so unbelievably passionate about wrestling, and we had this audience who were there who were craving more content, and we just thought, well, let's give it a go. Yeah, Adam Blampied, he does those how they should have booked videos, and yeah, why not? We all love wrestling. And we're very fortunate to be on the UK indie scene where there's just an enormous wealth of talent that it seemed like the sensible thing to do. It seemed kind of like a natural evolution to start the promotion.
Well, I love what you guys started doing because Loaded comes on 5 p.m. where I live. Mm-hmm. And I personally, I love the idea of a company that says, we're going to do this really hand-to-mouth, and of the 21st century, hand-to-mouth is, we're going to put it out there on YouTube for the eyes to see, and then we'll let it grow or let it evolve from there. And I feel had companies had that option back in 2002, we'd be looking at a slightly different scene today.
I couldn't agree more. There are no plans for us to take the weekly show Loaded away from YouTube. It's always going to be free to stream in its entirety and then watch match by match. There's no reason for us to take that away. Hopefully people are at a point that they're able to emotionally invest in the characters that they see on screen now. And it did feel like the right time to do our first iPPV, which we've been able to price very, very reasonably. And details of that are being released tomorrow, but I can talk about those with you tonight as well.
Okay. So, luckily enough, it's not going up before Friday, so we're breaking podcast rules right now.
Okay. Gotcha.
Pardon?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, I didn't want to cut you off, but so without you giving me spoilers, it'll already be out by then. What is the price?
Absolutely. So you can watch it live on Fight TV for $14.99, or launching tomorrow, which when this goes out would have been yesterday, is What Culture Extra, which is our version, I guess, of the WWE Network, which you will get Loaded every week, a day early. You'll get all of our existing content on YouTube ad-free. You'll get lots and lots of exclusive videos. There are exclusive documentaries on there. There are live streams every week. But perhaps most importantly, as a part of the price, you will get every What Culture Pro Wrestling pay-per-view to live stream and watch on demand. And the price for that is just $6.99 a month.
Will a $6.99 t-shirt be following?
No plans currently. We thought it was a really fair price point. It's just over a $5 here in the UK, where a lot of our fans are. We want to make it as accessible to everyone and not compromise the existing content that we're putting out on a weekly basis. So nothing's going to change on the YouTube channel. You'll still get all of the content that you get now. But if you want to pay a little more and get the iPay-per-views for less than a WWE pay-per-view, you can do so now.
Without firmly implanting my nose in your arse. That's a really smart idea. WWE had adopted at one point. They went full on for the YouTube channel. And then the day they decided we're going to launch our network, which was 2-3 years before it actually happened, they let the YouTube slide so hard.
Totally.
And that I just feels you turn your back on a very strong demographic that you can easily develop and curate.
Yeah, and monetize. There's big money in YouTube, and WWE are really nailing their YouTube now. They're doing a great job across all of their social platforms.
So speaking of WWE, let's talk about some of the names you guys have been acquiring.
Sure, it's been crazy, On our first show, we had, at the time, Ring of Honor champion Jay Lethal. We then had Damien Sandow, or the man formerly known as Damien Sandow, Aaron Rex, or Aaron Stevens, as he was billed for us. We had Eric Bischoff come over, which was also crazy. And most recently, we had Alberto El Patron, formerly known as Alberto Del Rio.
Well,
wow.
Those are the two names I want to ask you about. First, Eric
Sure.
Bischoff, simply because I've only had a chance to rub elbows with him once. How was he? How was he coming over? Is he as laid back as he looks like he is now on all the interviews you see him?
He was totally cool. I was very lucky, and I took him to the airport when he left. Just a really nice guy. He was great with everything he did. Just a consummate professional. He came out. He did his thing. He's Eric Bischoff. He's just the man, isn't he?
Well, that's it. He's seen so much and he's done so much in the world of wrestling. So the fact that he's like, oh yeah, sure, let me go try this out and let me have fun with it. It's surprising and heartwarming, if I can say.
Yeah, I mean, we did a load of Q&As with him, and one of the Q&As we put up on What Culture Extra, and he went into such detail, just spoke so openly about his entire career. He's just a guy, and he's still producing television, so he's a very interesting man to talk to.
And then Alberto El Patron, now on the backstage side of things for that, how was it reaching out to him? Was it one of those things where he sent feelers out pretty much to any independents he could, or did you guys make the initial step going, he's there, he's free of commitment, let's say, and let's try?
Yeah, we announced him the day he was released by WWE. We had spoken to him beforehand. His contract allowed for that, but we did confirm things with him on the day. It was great for us because we were the biggest platform after WWE that he went to. Whether he goes to TNA or Ring of Honor, I'm not sure, or AAA or whatever, wherever he's going now, we were very lucky to be able to give him a huge amount of exposure straight away after he left. He cut a really, really passionate promo in the ring. He had a really great match with our former champion Big Damo, who is just, in fact, off to join NXT, which is really, really exciting. He was great. It was a great night and an honor to share a ring with him.
So then let's really talk about Refuse to Lose, the very first iPPV, October the 6th.
Correct.
You guys have a fantastic card coming in. For me, I'm sold right away. Cody Rhodes versus Doug Williams.
Yeah, the father of British wrestling now, perhaps. He's just a grizzled vet. I mean, he's so great. I really, really love Doug. We had a really unfortunate problem where Doug's leg gave out on one of our tapings, and he landed directly on his head, and we were very, very worried. They finished the match, and just being the absolute legend that he is, he wrestled the next night. And it was a nasty fall that he took. He's the best.
Well, in those things, like, I think Doug, every fall that you possibly have that doesn't take you out, I think he's had at least once or twice.
Totally. I spoke to Cody. He's very excited about the match, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, no, bringing him in, and it's one of those things where, if I can ask you behind the scenes, Cody Rhodes, because you're only on YouTube and iPPV, you guys are allowed to market him as Cody Rhodes as opposed to what TNA has to resort to right now as just Cody?
I'm not sure on the specifics of that. I know there are people looking into that, our end. Some of our marketing that is going out is now c.rhodes. Cody.r. So I'm not sure on the specifics of that, but I know it's a bit of a grey area, and I know he's posting a lot on Twitter at the moment. I think they're looking into it their end as well. So
for the time being, legally, let's just say, son of a plumber, Cody.
Yeah, the star that left them in the dust, as
exactly.
I believe he's being called.
And here's one that I like simply because of Blampied and the personality that he has. Blampied versus Rampage in a street fight. This has to be simply done for everybody who's been following What Culture for so long now.
Yeah, I mean, Blampier's just done such a great job of being the cocky heel. He's an incredible performer. A joy to work with, to be honest. Another consummate professional. And I think a lot of people really want to see him get his comeuppance. And with a guy like Rampage, I think he's going to get that.
Has he? Do you know if he's trained a little bit with Simon at this point, or
I mean, Simon's down here in London training at Al Snow's academy.
Yeah.
Blampied is training up in Newcastle. I'm not quite sure where. He is training, but to be honest, he hasn't got long enough. He's going to get the absolute snot beaten from him, and I can't wait to watch it.
Will we get the Vince McMahon-esque training videos with him?
I can't spoil too much, but I believe they are filming.
They have to.
They have been filming it. There'll be something. Yeah.
It's Adam Blampied. I would expect nothing less at this point.
Exactly.
Than just pure genius. And then you're bringing out what I think is really smart, and there are a few companies here on our side of the pond. Internet Championship, El Ligero, Alberto El Patron, as we mentioned, versus Travis Banks.
Yes.
Thankfully Alberto opened up at that moment because you had to replace.
Yeah, it was a shame. I can't talk too much about the specifics of the contractual obligations, but yeah, he had to do other things in Japan. Jay Lethal, this is, and we want him back. He will, I'm sure, be back at a future point, but. Unfortunately, yeah, he couldn't do the 6th. But it worked out well for us. It's a good spot for Alberto. Ligero and Banks are just two great wrestlers as well. I think it could very easily be match of the night, that one.
It's so weird, and we're seeing it more and more. These multi-man matches are starting to claim the match of the night. I want to get your take on this because. We've had 3-ways, specifically with the women in WWE, constantly being touted as the best matches of the night. Then we have 4-ways and all this. And 5-6 years ago, most of those would always end up being, pardon my language, clusterfucks.
Yep, I agree. I think, a lot of it's down to a different wrestling style now. It's more high energy in the ring, but you're totally right. And we saw it. We saw it on Sunday. Charlotte, Sasha Bailey, to me, was the match of the night.
It pulled, in my opinion, it pulled the most emotion by the end of the match.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then let's move on to the What Culture Pro Wrestling Championship. Joseph Connors defending versus Martin Kirby. That story right there, Kirby with the handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Was it? Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
That's different. That's so different because you always get.
No, it was good fun. He's one of the best wrestlers, like pure wrestlers on the roster. And speaking out of character here, he is a joy to work with. But Joseph Connors is terrific as well. It's going to be a really, really good match, that one.
And I believe I may have skipped over, so I'm going to touch it very quickly. Coffey?
Yeah, Coffey.
Coffey versus Minoru Suzuki.
Right. It's going to be seriously stiff, this one. Joe Coffey, the Iron Man, who is doing great things all over the UK and further afield. And Minoru Suzuki, it's his 2nd time in the UK ever. It's a huge honour to have him over. The grandfather of modern day MMA, as it were. He's incredible.
He was MMA before it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
My chest blistered when I saw that.
Yeah.
And then finally a match. I assume everyone, they may have heard the guy. Kurt Angle versus Joe Hendry.
Yeah, Kurt's done a few things. He's got out there. His name's on a few DVD covers. Yeah, and Joe Hendry, who is, I'm sure Joe wouldn't mind me saying that this is an absolute dream come true for Joe Hendry. He's an amateur wrestler. Kurt Angle is absolutely his hero. Joe's training for the Commonwealths at the moment. He's, probably the most charismatic guy on our roster. He's a really, really great guy. And the two styles are going to work so terrifically well together. It's going to be wonderful.
So, leading into that show, There's so much going on for you, as you mentioned, balding, beer-bellied, and whatnot. What is your plan the second the pay-per-view goes off the air?
Get very, very drunk. No, I'm gonna, as I always do, we'll help take the ring down. We're at a different venue the next night. So all of us, the YouTube guys and the wrestlers and the ring crew, we all help take the ring down, load the van, and then probably, head out for drinks, hopefully, somewhere.
So by the end of that, I believe we have 3 dates consecutively?
Yeah, so we've got Refuse to Lose, which is sold out on the 6th at Northumbria University. Then the following night, just a slightly different venue, different building in the same venue, I believe. We have 2 episodes of Loaded to tape, which feature Cody Rhodes. And then the next day, we're off to Greater Manchester for our next show, which will feature Kurt Angle versus Cody Rhodes. True Legacy. It's going to be great.
Oh, so phenomenal. How many hours? Probably 2 or 3 the entire weekend of sleep?
It's going to be heavy. It's going to be seriously heavy. There's so much to get in. Hopefully, when it's all over, it's going to be a big relief. But then there's, it's back to work as usual.
Yeah, the grind keeps going. Adam Pacitti, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
No, thank you for having me. Seriously, it's been a pleasure.
But besides plugging What Culture, which I will have all the links to in the description of the show, we find you on the Tweety box.
You can find me on the Tweety box. It's at Adam Pacitti. And you can find What Culture Pro Wrestling at What Culture PW.
Thank you so much, and I'm going to start the petition, get you guys here in Montreal, Quebec for a show one day.
We would love to be over there. We're already looking at being all over the UK. Next year, I'd love to be out in the States and out in Canada.
Well, come to Canada. We're still technically with you.
It's where I want to be, man. That's my dream, is to go and work out in Canada.
You'll have a couch
I'd
to
love
stay.
To be there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Tony.
Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast. Download again next week for more awesome pro wrestling talk only on rowdywrestling.net.